Hi, welcome to our next lesson. But before we do our next lesson, we're going to recap 3.2, which was translations. What we learned about translation is slide. It means an image is shifted to a new location, whether you're shifting it up or down, or left or right. And we also learned the symbol for translation, which is T and in parentheses AB. AB tells you, A tells you how many units you're moving the point left or right, and B tells you how many units you're moving that same point up or down. Okay, and now some examples. Well, there's one example. We're going to combine everything that we've learned from lesson 3.1 and lesson 3.2. So it says, graph the line segment VU with the coordinates V -5, 6 and U -1, 8, and then find the length of UV. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot the points. So -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have -1, 8. -1, this was 6, 2 more, 8. So I'm going to plot that, and it's a line segment. So if you remember what a segment is basically you start at one point and you end at another point. So there shouldn't be any arrows. And I'm going to label it. So this one was V, and this is U. All right, so I did that. Now they want you to find the length of UV. There's two ways to find the length. The one way that you learned was a distance formula for 2 points. You learned that. If you don't remember what it was, then you can use, especially on a graph, you could use, I'm trying to get the thing, you can use rise over run. So your rise is 1, 2, and then your run is 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4. And from those two, well, what I did was I did -2 and went -2, 4. Actually, let me see if I did this right. My rise, I got -5, 6, and then -1, 8. It should be 2 up and 4 right. So I messed up here. It should be a positive, but either way, my answer came out to what it's supposed to be. So this was supposed to be a positive. I don't know why I had a negative, because I think I was going this way to there, but it should be a positive. And then I'm going to turn this to a positive. All right, so then they're both positive because this is like a positive slope. You plug it into that Pythagorean theorem. You remember a squared plus b squared equals c squared? This is, you use this when you're dealing with graphs. Rather than using the distance formula, which I will say it is d equals the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. If you can't remember that, then you can always use the Pythagorean theorem, which is simpler, and especially when you're using it on a graph, when you're using a graph. So you plug in your either rise or run, doesn't matter if you have A for 2 or for B, and then you find your C, you do the square root of that number, and then since we're looking at a length, might as well leave it as a decimal, so you just plug in this into the calculator and you get your value. All right, so we did that. Now, perform the following transformation to create line segment V prime, U prime under the reflection of x equals y. So for that one, what is that pen? Actually, yeah, I'm going to use the pen, and I'll use the broken line. I guess that will work. No, actually, no. Sorry about that. Trying to get that. All right, so for this one, we have x equals y. But before I even do that, I want to make sure, yeah, so be y equals x. So for this one, it would be this line. So now you need to do the reflection over this diagonal line. And if you remember, for x equals y, what happens to your A and B will give you your new image. So if you said that A and B just keeps the same value and then switch, it flips, you are correct. So let me just expand that. So that AB under that reflection becomes BA. So you had those points, and now all you're doing is just switching them. And now once you've got that, then you can plot it, and I'm going to use blue for that. So my V prime is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 5 over here, V prime, and then my U prime is 8 and negative 1. And then I use my line for this. I should say segment because it's only a segment. And there, I got my image. Pre-image, image. All right, the next one, it says, perform the following transformation on U, V prime, U prime, so the last image that I created, to create line segment V double prime, U double prime, under the translation of -5, 4. List the coordinates, the new coordinates, and graph it. So I already did all that work. So I have the last image that I plotted on the graph, and then since it's -5, I'm moving -5, that means to the left, and then 4, I'm moving up 4. So you see that the original that I had, and now I'm doing translation, and now I have my new points. So I'm going to use green. Oops. And I'm going to plot the new points under that translation. So I have 1, -1 for V double prime. And then for U double prime is 3, 3. So I'm bring that up, 3, 3. So U, and then I'm just going to make a segment. Yeah, there you go. So you're gonna have problems where, especially with like graphs, where you're gonna have to do multiple transformations. And when you do when you have the pre-image and you do the first transformation, the next transformation is going to be based on the last transformation you did. So this transformation is not going to come from come from this original one. It's going to come from the last transformation that you did. So be careful, because I have noticed that where students do the first one, then end up with the second transformation, and then to get the third transformation, they started with the first original one. Be careful. It's a step. It's sequential. First transformation, the next one, the next one, the next one, based on the last transformation you did. All right. So next lesson, rotation. If you go back to when I showed you that video with the different types of transformation, rotation, basically you're just spinning around a point, a fixed point. So the objective is, how do we rotate figures on the coordinate plane? So our definition for rotation is a spin or twist around a point based on an angle measurement. The center of rotation is a fixed point, is the origin, and that origin is 0, 0. Angle of rotation, it's either 90 degrees, 180, 270, or negative. It's all equal to negative, well, 270 is equal to -90. So if you were to look at a graph, actually, I'm going to just draw, if it was a graph. So let's say this was a graph, and you had a line. So if you're going to in this direction, and I should put a pen. If you were going in this direction, that's going to 90. If you were going around, so 180, and you stop here, oops, shoot, messed up there, went too far. And I'll use green so I can show that one. So if you go here, 180, 270, so over here is 270. So this 270 is equal to negative 90 degrees. So if you were to go the opposite direction, instead of going 90 this way, and you went 90 backwards, so this would be negative 90. So you can see that negative 90 degrees is the same as 270. So in case they tell you that, okay, you're going negative 90 degrees, whatever you get for 270 is the same as negative 90. All right. So now, the notation when it comes to rotation is r theta. Theta, that represents your degree, like how many degrees, what's your angle measurement. Theta is a Greek symbol. And like I said, it's a Greek letter and it's a variable for angles. So anytime you see that, you know that you're dealing with angles. In symbols, if you're doing a 90 degree, it would be R90 or R180 or R270, which also equals R negative 90. For any positive angle, you're going in a counterclockwise direction. So notice how in this little graph that I made, I started at here, which is 0, and I'm going counterclockwise. That's positive because it's 90, 180, 270, and then 360. But if it's negative, as shown here, where I went backwards, that means you're going clockwise. Yep, it sounds confusing because when you think of a clock and it's going clockwise, it's going in a clockwise direction that's starting from 12 and going all the way to 11 and going to the right rather than left. So it's hard to think, okay, you're going to the right, you're going positive, you're doing positive. You're going to the left, it's negative. But with angles, if you're doing positive angle, you're going counterclockwise, it's negative, it's clockwise. You just have to remember that because it does get confusing. And another thing about rotation, it's an isometry. So is a translation, which I forgot to mention in the last lesson. And remember what isometry is? That it means that the shape and the size doesn't change based on the transformation. Whether you rotate it, whether you slide it, whether you flip it, if you keep that same image but just move it, it's an isometry. It's just like you look at yourself in the mirror. That reflection that you see, did it get distorted? No, you're an isometry. So just remember that. Same thing with translation. All right. So there are common notations to memorize. So you're going to have a figure. I'll make this bigger. You're going to have a figure, and it depends on how you rotate it about the origin. The origin is 0, 0. If you go in 90 degrees counterclockwise, going towards the left, in order to show that as a symbol, it should be AB. So you start at whatever your coordinates are, AB. The new point, when you rotate it, will be negative BA. Like I said, you have to memorize this. If it's 180, you start off with AB, and then your new point will be negative A, negative B. I think out of the three, this is the easiest one because all you have to do is negate it. With going clockwise or doing 270, going in the positive direction, which is counterclockwise, and if you went the other way, you start at AB, your symbol will be, your new point will be B negative A. So just in order to try to help you remember it a little bit better, with 90 or negative 90, the letters will switch. With 90, you will have the negative B first going counterclockwise, and then with clockwise, your last one will be negative. The A will be negative. 180 is the only one that keeps the same position, but it just gets negated. And shown below, so let me see if I can, oh yeah, down there it says tip to rotate your paper. So let's say you didn't know, you can't remember this. You try, you keep on messing up. It's like, I can't remember this. I mix up one for the other. I wish I could show you, but imagine you had a paper. Let's say you took this purple triangle, and I asked you to turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So you're going in this direction. So what you could do with that paper, you take it and you rotate that paper 90 degrees. So you 90 degrees, one turn to the left, in that direction. Where this lands, and with your new, when you position the paper in a different way, it will land showing this position. And if you did it for 180, where you turn it twice, so 1, 2, so you turn it counterclockwise, this image, when you turn that paper 180, will be in this position. So that's a trick that you can use if you can't remember what the new points would be after rotating it a certain amount of degrees. I used it in school. It helped me because I can visualize, see it, and then I could plot where the new points are for that image. That's one way of doing it. If you're good with memorizing, then you just use what's there, and then you can figure out what's happening. So for the blue image, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. Hopefully I can show everything. So the blue image, this is a rotation from the purple to the blue, and you're using this formula. So basically you switch the numbers and then you negate the B. For the green image, you're starting from the purple to the green, you did a 180 counterclockwise. So again, you keep the letters the same position, you just negate them. And that's what you see. And for the yellow image, the triangle, you did a 270. I should also put that it's also a negative 90 degrees going clockwise. So you would use this, you would switch the letters, and then your A gets negated. And that means your numbers get switched, and then the B, the last one, the A gets negated, as you can see. So again, you either memorize the formula or use the trick that I told you. Take that paper, like if you have your homework paper or whatever it is, you see where the image is and they ask you to do a 90-degree counterclockwise, you turn it to the left, one turn, and see where the points are on that graph. And then you can just write, okay, where it's positioned, and then it will tell you, you will have your new points for that image. That's if that helps you. If you're good at memorizing, then like I said, memorize the points, the new points based on the rotation. All right, so we're going to do some examples. We have a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation about the origin. So they gave us the symbol. We have the pre-image and the image. So the image is AB, what we're starting with, and then in order to do a 90-degree, you're turning it 90 degrees counterclockwise to the left. So your points, you will have the two letters switch, and your B will be negative. So based on that, then you'll be able to know what to do with your letters. So we'll have 1, -1 for A prime, 1, 2 for B prime, and C prime will be -3, 2. And once you do that, graph both images, the pre-image and the image, and there you go. So if you were literally to turn this, this will be in this position. So best thing you could do, if you took your laptop or your phone and you turn it, just turn it 90 degrees clockwise, see where ABC falls. And then you'll notice that the points that I've got for the new image will match up when you have turned that. Okay, next one, 180 degrees. Our pre-image is starting off with AB. And remember, this is the easiest one to remember out of the three. The letters stay in the same position, you just negate it. So now, this is positive, a negative will turn to positive, so 1, 1. 2 will be negative, and the other one will be positive, and then the C prime will be, both will be negative. Again, plot your image and pre-image, and then there you go. And like I said, if you take your laptop or your phone, you turn it counterclockwise 180 degrees, that's mean 2 turns, you'll see that this image will match up with what I drew on the screen. Okay, the next one is 90 degrees clockwise. Pay attention. On your homework or whatever activity you do, you have to pay attention if they're saying clockwise or counterclockwise, because you don't want to mix those two up. Pay attention to what they tell you. And sometimes if they don't tell you that it's, if they don't say clockwise or counterclockwise, they will usually have a little symbol like positive in front of the 90 or behind the 90. That tells you positive. If there's a negative, then you go clockwise. So pay attention to those little cues that will tell you what to do. So again, we're doing about the origin. We're starting at AB. When you do a 90 degree clockwise, which is also the same as doing 270 counterclockwise, the letters will switch and your A will be negative. Using that, you switch and you negate the A. So, whoops. A prime is negative 1, 1. B prime is negative 1, negative 2. And then C prime is 3, negative 2. You plot both of your images, the pre-image and the image, and there you have it. So notice how this triangle turned this way. If you were to turn it clockwise, you'll notice that this will fall into that same position that is drawn on the screen. Okay, so anytime you have any questions and you're confused still, remember you can always email me. Okay, next one. So we're going to do, there's 4 problems, and they're telling us that we're doing a rotation, and each figure is being rotated at 90 degrees about the origin. The origin is 0, 0, and I see the red dots there. And 90 degrees either clockwise or counterclockwise. So this one says clockwise, so I'm going in this direction. So I'm going to draw that arrow to show you that I'm going in this direction. And it's counterclockwise, this direction. So counterclockwise, if I were to turn it that way, if you turn your screen, 1 turn, you'll see where the thing falls. But if you remember what the little formula for it, you know that it will be, you switch the letters and the A will be negative. So once you do that, then you can plot your points. I'm going to plot that in purple. So my R prime is 3, 3, 3, 3. My S is 4, negative 2. S prime. And my T is 2, negative 1. T prime. And then I put my line. There you go. Alright, the next one. Oops, I shouldn't have done it that fast, but counterclockwise, you switch the letters, the B will be negated, and you go in that direction. So again, if you do not know this, then you would turn it one turn counterclockwise, and you see where it falls and be able to figure out the points. So I'm going to plot the points. So I got -1, 3, which is H prime. And like I said, be careful. When you label it, it's going to be prime. Your new image is going to be prime, double prime, triple prime, depending on how many rotations, how many transformations you did. This one's going to be 3, 3, J prime, and then 4, -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, -3, which is K prime. And I connect my dots to create this shape. Okay. Now last two. Again, this is 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I'm going to draw the arrow to show what direction this is going to be turned. Clockwise and going in this direction. So I have my vertices for the triangle, counterclockwise, 90 degrees. That means I'm switching the letters, and the B will be negated. Once I've done that, then I could follow the procedure, and then I can plot the points. So S prime is 1, 2. T prime is -1, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Negative T and negative T. T prime. That negative T. That's -1, 5. And then K prime is -3, 3. -3, 3. And I connect the dots. So connect the points. Alright, and for the last one, clockwise. That means that's -90 degrees going clockwise, or if I did the 270 counterclockwise, same thing. But in this case, I'm just going to stick with what's simple, -90. So that means the two letters will switch, A and B will switch, and then the A is the one that's going to be negated. So I'll do that, I'll switch this, and then my A that ends up here will be opposite of what I had originally. Once I do that, waiting for my pen, purple, my D prime will be 3, -4, oh no, 3, 4, sorry, 3, 4, D prime, and then 2, -1, E prime, and then F is -3, 1, 2, 3, +3, F prime. And I'm going to erase that dot, it bothers me. And I'm going to put my line. And there you go. Got your new image. Alright, so we've reached the end. Let's do a recap of what we learned about rotation. We learned that it's a spin or a twist around a fixed point, and it's based on an angle measurement. You have either 90 degrees, 180, 270, and 270 is the same as -90 degrees. And when you're going to the left, you're going counterclockwise. When you're rotating to the right, you're doing clockwise. That would be negative. So clockwise is negative, counterclockwise is positive. You have the symbol R and whatever degrees they're telling you that you're rotating. And this symbol means it's a variable for angles, and it's theta. And like reflection and translation, rotation is an isometry because it does not change its shape or size when you move it. Okay, and we learned the symbol and the new point based on the rotation. This is what you would have to memorize. But like I said, If you cannot memorize this, rotate the paper. Depending on which direction they tell you to rotate it, rotate it. Whether if it's you have a screen, you could rotate your computer screen, you can rotate your phone, providing that when you rotate, it doesn't rotate the screen. You could lock that, but rotate it either in clockwise or counterclockwise to see where the points lay on that new turn, and then you could write down the points, and then that will give you your new image. So that's one way of doing it. And yeah, so basically you got to pay attention when they say counterclockwise, clockwise, and the degree. If they don't tell you that it's clockwise or counterclockwise, they usually put a little symbol like plus or minus near, like for 90, it would say -90. Then you know you're going clockwise. If it's a positive, then you're going If it's negative, you're going clockwise. If it's positive, you're going counterclockwise. So look for those cues. All right, so that ends our lesson, and see you next time.